Edelweiss and CNBC-TV18 present Change India, what India needs.
Hello, welcome to Change India. I'm Senthil Changalvarayan. The budget perhaps fell short of stretched expectations, but you could argue that the budget is not the only platform for government action. So in the next half hour, while we will dwell a bit on the hits and misses in the budget, we have an expert panel that will discuss what should be the agenda for the government beyond Budget 2014. We could have no one better again than Mr. Rashesh Shah, Chairman and CEO of the Edelweiss Financial Services Group, Mr. Keval Handa, former Managing Director of Pfizer India, joining me here in the studios. And joining us from our Ahmedabad studio is Mr. Feroz Kambata, Chairman of Rasna Private Limited. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Before I get to you, let's listen to some other voices on Budget 2014.
Considering the shortage of time, I think he's done a good job. He has made number of clarifications. He's not gone overboard on anything. He has brought he has talked about fiscal prudence. He's talked about inflation control. He's emphasized housing in a big way, infrastructure, manufacturing. He's taken care of some of these issues which were there. I think on the negative, I would say that he's taken a cautious approach. There is no big bang in anything. There is nothing revolutionary. He has still maintained the 51% limit for Indian companies, for banks, for defense sector.
My quick take on the budget, it ticks all the boxes, and more importantly to me, it shows a willingness to listen to what are the challenges, and state that I have listened, we the government have listened, and we will act in due course. To me, that is a statement of intent which I will take entirely at face value, and I believe that in the next 6 months we will see action on this front.
He's actually covered probably the widest spectrum of issues and subjects which have been raised by all sectors in recent times. He's addressed issues which industry has raised, civil society is raised, agriculture is raised, the financial industry is raised, both inside and outside.
The approach of the finance minister and the government has been very comprehensive in looking at the nation in totality. I think besides the tax, which is one part of it, but I think he's covered every section of society. 25 crore investment allowance which is coming down. He's looking at addressing the inverted custom duty issues. He's looked at the excise duty which is brought down on many food processing and many other industrial areas. We are actually happy. It's not a one-time big bang approach.
Well, if I go across to Ahmedabad and let's get Mr. Feroz Kambata in on this discussion. Feroz, if the objective of the budget was to get confidence back, has he succeeded in doing that?
Yeah, he has done it. If you ask me, from the very fact that, we are seeing more interest of the P players in India, we are seeing more interest of the FII players in India, people believe that we wanted stability, they wanted confidence. And I believe what he has done is he did in Gujarat. What he did in Gujarat is that he created a conducive environment for business. He did this Vibrant Gujarats once in 2 years. He invited the biggest of the names and told them, here is your field. You go and take over. And he is, in my mind, he's always been pro-industry to the extent that he sides with industry. If they are doing a good job, he also wants development. And I think it's a very good and proactive budget which he has given. Okay.
Rashesh, the expectations were very, very large. Do you think he met the expectations? Or as Feroz says, the initial expectation really was, the pragmatic expectation was that, and as the comment says, that here is someone who will listen. And when I say he, I think I mean both the Prime Minister and Mr. Jaitley, because clearly Feroz talks about the Prime Minister.
See, as usual, we'll always have a few people who will have very stretched expectations. So there was a part of the investor group or, the market expectations from the industry itself who wanted big bang, who wanted quick change, sudden change, almost like a U-turn from everything India has done. And fortunately, I think he did not follow that. The way I see the budget is, it is more about being very balanced. There's a little bit on it for everything. There's continuity because he's not, completely turned around what the earlier government was doing. And there is still change. And to get this done is always not very easy. And you can't keep everybody happy. But I think on the whole, if you study it, you see that he's covered a large range of issues, a large part of the issues have been covered. And this whole thing, what I call basically balance, continuity with growth, is what he's achieved. So on the whole, I think broadly a large part of the investor group is fairly happy with this.
Okay. Kevin, let me talk to you as a representative of foreign direct investment. You were chairman of Pfizer, you're on the board of ING and some other companies as well. Has he done enough to get foreign investor confidence, and I don't mean just FII, but foreign direct investor confidence back into the country? Or do you think that the fact that he stopped at 49 and not 51 in certain sectors, do you understand that as a reality, a real politic, or would you think that will disappoint?
I think big bang announcements don't materialize. But as a finance minister, he has in control of revenue and expenditure. And what I've seen that is not done enough on the revenue and expenditure. There are things that he has moved forward, let's say insurance from 26% to 49% and defense. Now, it's not going to make any difference doing 49% and then saying that the management control will be Indian control. Now, you are not going that extra length that is required for the investment to happen. In insurance, almost about $3 billion is sitting. In defense, it could be 10 times more than that figure.
Okay. So you're saying foreign direct investor may not bite at this?
Absolutely not. He should have gone that extra mile to make it happen. And this was the opportunity to do it.
Let me stick with another disappointment now. I'm going beyond the budget. You work in the pharmaceutical industry. Not too long ago, we had the drug control on 108 non-essential drugs. The argument of the government is that healthcare costs need to be brought down, and I agree healthcare costs need to be brought down. But are you disappointed? And does that in some way signal or kind of veer away from what was perceived to be a business-friendly government?
Absolutely. There are only two lines on healthcare. He said that we're going to work on initiatives of free drugs and then the free diagnostic and on TB product. But that's not the challenge of the healthcare today. The greater challenge is lying in the universal health coverage. The greater challenge is finding an alternate to pricing, affordability, accessibility. And if you're going to tinker only with the pricing of products, you are again going back on the promises that you have made, that there was a committee which decided what products to cover. And now you're doing things arbitrarily, which the industry doesn't like. It's absolutely arbitrary measures, uncalled for. You should have taken a holistic view of healthcare and then decided how do you address the healthcare in general.
Arash, let me get that question to you, because there is a feeling that perhaps we have seen the heavy hand of bureaucracy in a number of proposals that were advanced in the budget, especially to do with taxation. And I get Pirozin also on that later. Do you think that these are things that will be corrected and not enough attention was paid to them because of the time that they didn't have with them?
Yeah, I think given the time they had, and also I think somewhere NDA, Prime Minister Modi and the Finance Minister, they decided that they don't want sudden change. They don't want sudden, disruption. And I do feel that if you read between the lines, if you see the body language, and if you go outside of all the other things that are happening, I do think that there are some fairly significant structural changes that will happen.
Okay.
Some of that work going on may be invisible, and some of that may remain invisible because it's not always good to announce everything you want to do.
What are the changes that you spot?
See, I think there's a lot of work going on infrastructure, coal and power, which I think over the next 3 to 6 months we'll start seeing the effect of that, especially if you solve the coal problem. And the coal problem is not completely, unsurmountable. It just somebody has to make a few decisions, and I think a lot of work is going on in trying to build some consensus, trying to put your arms around the issue. The second one, I think, is about getting the efficiency in the decision making of the bureaucracy. It's already started. Prime Minister addressed all these secretaries out there. We're already seeing, when you interact with a lot of people in the government, there's already a little bit of energy, a little bit of saying, okay, now we can get stuff done. Third, broader one is there is this whole approach to saying, let's solve the big problems first, and not just go after every small problem that is out there. And that, I think, will be structurally very, very useful.
But some of these statements he made, particularly on the Vodafone case, is no addressing those issues. They're waiting the court to decide, and then we'll take a call.
But can they really address, because these are can a government forego so much revenue? I mean, good or bad, this is a decision taken by
So
the
look,
earlier
if I have
government.
made a mistake, I should accept it.
Okay.
I should own it
He-
and give
he's-
a good message outside.
But he's giving you the message saying that I am against retrospective tax. Don't force me to take a decision on this so quickly. I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Oh, you should have demonstrated that.
And also you should remember a couple of things. One is, and I agree with it, I think NDA has decided that they are not going to really upstage the UPA and say that everything UPA did was wrong, because I think they, instead of having that very, divisive politics, they are trying hard to get some consensus so that you can get the parliament to work, get the bills approved.
All right. Firoz, let me get in on this, and also the fact that while he spoke about that he was against retrospective taxes, when he amended the definition of short-term capital gains under Section 242A, there was a certain amount of retrospectiveness, if I can use that word, that crept in. Do you think that was deliberate, or do you think he just that was pushed past him by bureaucracy?
No, I think if you ask me, this is a retrospective effect only, and this is going to affect a lot of investors who are already invested in FMPs and what I call monthly income plans and things like that. Because don't forget, the small investor is not going to go to the bond market to buy bonds. He is going to invest in a mutual fund. The whole idea of mutual fund was that the small investor wants to take lesser risk, and here is what he will do. Okay. Now imagine for a person who has put his retirement plan in MIP, what will happen to him? If I am investing today in a new instrument, you say, okay, from this maturity, you will have to pay tax. But you can't be making this change on investments which are already invested the money.
That I think that point is well made.
In my mind, it is a wrong decision, and I can, if you give me time, I can list down some other various things also which are wrong in taxation area, like GAR and things like that. And on the Vodafone issue, I am very clear that once the highest Supreme Court of the land gives a decision, government has to abide by it. Why change laws? They have done that not only in this case of Vodafone, they have done in ITC, they have done in some Fiat. In Fiat, the Supreme Court gave a decision, they want to change it. So I believe that the government should please appreciate that we all go to court, we all wait, we fight cases.
But
we win the cases, the government says, we want to give the decision, we want to collect money.
But can a government give up its, it can say I'm against retrospective, but can it give up its, which is really a sovereign right. The sovereign right to tax retrospectively is a right that lies with the government.
I will just tell you the principles of our constitution. We have to all follow the law. Nobody is above law.
Okay.
And if you ask me, if the highest court of the land gives a ruling on a law, and as government says, because we are sovereign, we will go back and we'll collect tax or we'll collect whatever the money because we have the right to amend the law, it is wrong.
Well, there was, if anything, if there was something to be said against this budget, and there were lots that had been said, but if there was anybody or any group of people very vocal against things, it was certainly people who were affected by certain tax proposals in the budget. But we'll come back, and when we come back, we'll talk about what needs to be done for administrative efficiency, what needs to be done to increase infrastructure spend, and what needs to be done to resolve various policy and planning bottlenecks. But that's after a break. Stay right there. We'll be back on Change India.
Edelweiss and CNBC-TV18 present Change India, What India Needs.